Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Be Freaking Awesome. I'm one of your hosts, Sami Kinnison. I'm a communication coach who helps people to use the right words in the situations when they're looking for them.
Hi, my name is Angela Delford. I'm one of your co-hosts, and I am a belief coach who works with growth-minded business owners and entrepreneurs.
We are a mother-daughter duo who are seeking to answer the question, what does it take to live a freaking awesome life? Today, we're continuing and sort of landing the plane on our 3-part series. We have been talking about some of the different topics from Angela's book, most recent book, The Invisible Edge. The first topic that we addressed was talking about why success does not really fix the voices in your head and how sometimes achievement is our crutch in our journey and not actually something that helps us to feel better. Our last episode that we did, we talked about what happens when you feel like you've already addressed the belief and why is it coming up again? What do you have to do with it? And you got to keep doing the work. Yeah, you kind of got to keep doing the work. Today, we're sort of continuing that theme of how do you continue the work once you've started. And we're talking about what does it look like to deepen the roots and to make it feel sturdier, kind of at the foundation. So, Angela, why don't you talk to us about this and just like where's your head at on this idea within the work?
Yeah, so the reason why I wanted to talk about deepening the roots is because we've discussed that the beliefs were often formed because our little kid brain was trying to make sense of things. And one of the visuals that I repeatedly comes up when I'm coaching people is that when I get to the message, one of the consistent things I see is that when we chase down the sensation in our body, we get it all described and we ask it for the message. When I get the actual message, I have been seeing a lot of success by asking people, okay, ask that sensation in your body. When is the first time you learned that lesson? Which some people are like, oh yeah, inner child work. I'm like, sure. And so it'll be like, oh, I was 8 years old and sitting on the porch swing and everybody was coming in from my mom's funeral and handing me money saying happy birthday. And so 8-year-old me decided that pain has a cost and its value is $28.50. And so I literally tied in pain and money with all tangled up together, right? And so that 8-year-old was driving the car of my life for a lot of years. Like she'd made a lot of decisions. And my first therapist, when I spent 13 months with him, he would say, okay, we're going to talk to the 8-year-old on the porch swing. Okay, we're going to talk to the 8-year-old on the porch swing. Because I'm telling you, that girl, like, everyone leaves. Money is tied to pain. You can never trust anybody. You're all in this. You got to depend on yourself, and you're going to do fine. She actually was very confident that I was going to do fine all by myself. And so there were so many things. And so basically I was letting an 8-year-old drive my car. And so sometimes people will be like, oh, well, we're going to kick them out of the car. They will say, oh, this critical voice in my head, I'm just going to kick them out of the car. And I'm like, here's the thing I know is that they've been keeping you safe up to this point. And so if you kick them out of the car, they're going to throw down some like razor strips so that they're going to put a hole in all of your tires. You are going to not be able to move forward. I find it to be more effective to find out and appreciate what did this 8-year-old bring to you. So one of my clients, like, classic, moved schools in the 5th grade, was left out, and I felt alone a lot. And so I was like, but you're a really great friend. Do you think that 7th grader is what has made you a really great friend? Like that 7th grader actually is what drove this client's people pleasing because she never wanted to feel alone again. And so I'm like, can we thank seventh grade you? How wonderful is it that she helped you be a good friend? And so we don't want to kick her out of the car. She's done a great job of keeping you safe. And furthermore, she is actually giving you the skills that you need to be a good friend, and you want to continue to be a good friend. How about we invite her to sit in the back seat? And it's like, oh, one person I coached, their dad left when they were 8 years old, and I'm like, well, what did that 8 year old learn? And that you can't be, no more fun, no more fun. Oh, no, 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 no. 8 year old, oh, she was responsible for the fun for her siblings. And because then if her siblings were having fun, then they would leave her mom alone. And so like her job was always coming up with games and fun. And so I'm like, do you ever let 8 year old like guide your work and like encourage you? And she's like, actually, when I think about the times that I go out and have drinks with my friends and I don't drink, but I have a really great time, it's because I let the 8 year old out. Like, yes. So how can you let the 8 year old be the 8 year old of like bringing the fun, the seventh grader reminding you how to be a good friend while also not letting them drive the car? Because when they say, oh, no, 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 we're not going to join a new club, we're not going to join a new thing, we're not going to get up on stage, because all of that is going to lead to us feeling alone and left out again. So we're not doing that crap.
I think that it all comes down to like risk assessment and like what risks are you willing to risk tolerance in some ways. At
Mm.
least not it all comes down to. The thing that these younger versions of yourself are doing is risk assessments of how risky is this
Mm.
behavior? How tolerant of failure am I? How tolerant of risk am I? And when different people raise in different ways, that sometimes we're very tolerant to risk and sometimes we're very risk averse. Those who feel like they're more free, they're more open, they're more willing to try things have a higher risk tolerance. And so when we are adults, if we continue to let our kids assess, like the kid in us assess the risk, like that's not a full picture. I last night was at the concert in the park with my children, and it started to rain. And when the rain picked up higher and it was like really big droplets of rain, two of my three kids are like screaming in terror and are like, I have been betrayed that you are letting me stand here in this rain. And I was like, I need us to take a deep breath and to realize that I am here to keep you safe, and I would not have you do something that I think is going to cause you harm. Getting wet is uncomfortable. It's not fun in this way, and it can be upsetting. It is not dangerous and it is not unsafe. There are things that you can do that are dangerous that I would not let you do. There are things you could do where you could get hurt. That is different than you could die. And I, as your parent and as your caretaker, will be like, you can trust that my assessment of this risk, I'm not going to put you in an unsafe situation. And I think that that is a little bit of like reparenting ourselves and helping to be like the most ideal version of a caretaker to that younger self can sometimes like, I wouldn't just look at my kid and be like, you're an idiot that you think rain is dangerous.
Right.
Like, no, I'm not, like, that's not helpful. That doesn't teach him anything. That doesn't love him. That doesn't reassure him in any way. And like, it just sounds ridiculous to be like, yeah, I'm going to tell my 7-year-old kid, like, I can't believe you're so dumb that you think this is dangerous. Like, what is wrong with you? But we do that. We
We
try
do that to
to,
ourselves
we do that
for
to
sure.
ourselves a lot. And so where can we assess risk better and to say like, yep, I understand I'm doing something, I'm going to join the club and I'm going to put myself out there, and that there is a risk that I might not get accepted. The the opportunity is worth the risk, and I'm going to engage in this activity anyway. That is where I have found the most success in like thanking the inner parts of me, is that I have to acknowledge and accept You're not wrong. There is risk involved with whatever activity that I think that we should be doing right now. That is accurate. That that danger, that potential danger that's lurking is not greater than the opportunity that we could gain from it. Those
I
conversations have
have
been very productive for me.
I have a great example of how this recently showed up for me. So recently I went down. I am part of a club in Texas, the National Speakers Association. Those of you that are longtime listeners know we've had guests from that club. But still, I didn't go down last year. So it has been 2 years since I've been down to see them. And so I'm more connected with our virtual members than with our remote members than I am with our with the local people. And so when I showed up and I'm just sitting there and I'm talking to people about what my topic is or how long I've been speaking or all of those things, they don't really know what to do with me, and I didn't get a lot of connection points. We end up out on the by the pool and someone is singing karaoke, and one of my friends that's also in marketing starts dancing, is like, who's gonna dance with me? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna leave my girl hanging, my marketing girl. So I go over and take this what might be considered risky move and go dance on a pool deck in front of about 10 or 15 people, kind of silly. And after I sat down, more people reached out to me and had a connection point. Angela, we need you to come down more often. You have such great energy. I didn't know you could dance. Wait, you're in choir, you can sing. I love this. I didn't know this about you. A couple of the people that I did sort of kind of know, and it gave us a connection point. I think they saw that, oh, you're willing to take a risk. Now, it's also a very risk tolerant group. Obviously, most of them make their living by speaking, but it felt really good to take that risk and feel more connected to people than I did when I was acting properly, just sitting there chatting.
I would venture, if we were to, peel back the layers a little bit, that still probably is a risk averse group. That, yes, public speaking is part of their profession. And for some people, that feels like a crazy, bold, and vulnerable thing to do. But it's also like you can control what happens in a lot of ways when you speak on stage in front of others. You can control what you say, the narrative, who you're speaking in front of, what your slides are. When you stand up to dance on the pool deck, there's not a lot of controlling the narrative within that. And
Mm.
I think it is interesting that only two of you stood up to do that as opposed to other people jumping in, because why not?
There was
And
one
it
more
is
person that
something that
jumped in.
happens. The more
We're now
people who
LinkedIn
jump in, then
buddies.
the more people start to feel safe to jump in because
Yeah.
it's less risky. The risk goes down the more people who are doing an activity. And so,
Mm-hmm.
kind of see what happens. But anyway, I digress. What can somebody do if they want to deepen the roots? If they want to do this work for themselves?
Well, what I would say is that number one, I feel like what is one of the most common responses to this idea that something that happened to us when we were younger is now contributing to, everybody wants to like discount that. I mean, I cannot tell you how many, seems like more men, but also women from hard backgrounds that are like, what do you expect me to do? Sit around and cry about it? I mean, I got over that. Look, I worked my way through this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yep, you did. And if your life is the way you want it and you're achieving your goals and you have peace in your life and you have joy and you have great relationships with depth, then fantastic. This is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
100% it's working for you. What's crazy to me is that people will tell me that they don't need this work and they tell me that none of that impacted them. And then the next story they tell me is how their kids won't talk to them. And it's like, wait, what's going on with that? Why won't your kids talk to you? And they're like, oh, well, and it typically comes down to, I, the parent, am judging my children for the way they are acting. And, if you get really deep in life coach side of it, it's they are making what their kids do mean something about themselves. They're not able to accept their kids because they're not able to accept themselves. We perfectionists, judge ourselves at such a high level that what we do to others feels kind compared to the crap that we do to ourselves. And so if it's working for you, keep going, keep going. Tell other people that are struggling and let them know. But when we can first acknowledge that something that happened to me a long time ago might be running in the background, just like if you do task manager on your computer and you don't realize that you have 55 tabs open of Chrome and that is what's making your computer run slow. That's all I'm asking. Let's just look at the task manager and let's see if there's anything running in the background that might be holding you back. I think this is especially important in relationships because we have a loneliness epidemic. And we have quoted the book, The Good Life, on this podcast so many times, where there is the Harvard's longest study of human happiness. And when our beliefs impact the way we talk to ourselves, which then by nature impacts how we talk to others, then I think it is worthwhile to spend the time to dig into and understand how these beliefs got planted, how the little kid in you has been trying to drive the car, and maybe just invite them to step into the back seat.
I think that's really good. I also want to encourage that if you are playing it safe and are saying, I see the opportunity, I see the risk, I think I want to avoid the risk, like that's too big for me. I want to invite you into what could be a deeper and richer experience. Sometimes we might be in a spot where we're like, wow, none of these beliefs are impacting me. I don't have anything going on. Uh, that's amazing. Are we stress testing the system? Or are we like staying inside a little bubble? Because if we're staying inside a little bubble, we're not doing anything risky or dangerous or anything. We're probably not in the place where the magic happens in life. We're probably not in meaningful, rich, deep relationships with other people, because that is going to bring up conflict when you're in meaningful, rich, deep relationships with other people. And if you don't know how to, we're not willing to face that kind of thing, when we say no to all the bad things, we also say no to a bunch of good things as well. And weirdly, this image of thinking about the tree roots and deepening the roots, there was an experiment that was set up in Arizona they made like a biosphere. It originally started out as a space experiment because they were trying to see, like, could you grow life in a contained place where we provide the oxygen, hypothetically speaking, could we put a dome on Mars and fill all the things that we need in there and people survive? So that's what they did. They made this dome. In the first run of this experiment, the trees grew inside the dome faster than trees outside the dome. And they're like, wow, this is crazy. This is amazing. And when trees reached full maturity, they fell over and they were completely unstable. And they dug in to figure out what was going on. Because the trees never experienced wind inside this dome, there was never any stress on the system. And so, because they
Mm.
never had anything pushing up against it, the moment that a human just like pushed against it, the whole tree, like a full mature giant tree, would just fall over. And because the roots had never once faced stress or pressure of any kind. And so when we're kids and we face these hard moments, like, we are building stress tolerance. We are building a response that allows us to be strong adult trees. And it's figuring out, how do you work with that? How do you say thank you for teaching me what it means to be a good friend? Thank you for teaching me how to be independent and survive on my own. I know I can survive on my own without depending on anybody else, which means that it's safer to enter into risk, because I actually do know I have what it takes, that if this didn't work out, I still can survive, as opposed to saying I should never trust anybody else because I can only do this on my own. What are the ways that you can work with those stress responses? And so I just think about, like, things, quote, bad things happening, things that stress test the system. That's not something to be avoided. That is something that can be genuinely a part of the process. And finding a way to be grateful for those moments, I think, can be really powerful. That doesn't mean that
I
we're like, oh, I'm glad that bad things happen to me, but like, I'm
well,
grateful.
my favorite example is that in my 20s, I would say I would tell the story of this tragic childhood I had where I lived in four different families, and it was about 30 that I figured out like, oh, you know why I'm so resilient? You know why I'm actually able to do so well in life is because I didn't have the same 20 years of dysfunction. Like nobody was poisoning the roots of my trees for 20 years. The longest anybody got to poison the roots of my trees was 5 years at a time. And so, and also to the point of our childhood tells us how the world works and some of those beliefs. Like I knew at 18, I knew that I knew that I knew everybody was just making this up. They were making up the rules because the rules were different in my Aunt Mary's house than they were in my mom's house, than they were in my grandma's house, than they had been in my adopted mom's house when I was a little kid. The rules were different every single place. And that meant that when I got to be 18, I just got to make up the rules and live my life how I wanted to live my life. And I think many people are raised in environments where this is how my grandma was, this is how my aunt was, this is how my mom is, this is how my sisters are. Like, this is how the world works. Like, you can't be different than this. And I can remember somebody telling me the story of like they had a family member that the women weren't allowed to get a driver's license. And you're like, wait, but why? And it's like, well, because grandma never got a driver's license and mom never got a driver's license. So why would you need a driver's license? I mean, it was like little things. And I didn't have that because
I think
I
about
knew.
a dumb one that's not about driver's license. You had a friend that like they would make a ham and they would
Yeah.
cut the
No,
end
it
off the
wasn't a
ham.
friend. It's just a joke on the internet, but go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, you cut off the end of the ham to put it in the oven. And they're like, what? They got married and they're like, why did you cut off a big chunk of the ham before you like cooked it? They're like, I don't know. That's what my mom did. Mom, why'd you do that? I don't know. That's what my grandma did. And grandma's like, well, I had to do that because the oven was only as big as 2/3 of the ham. So they've been like throwing away a piece of like good meat because in one situation, this is how it worked.
Right.
Not all situations that have to be that way.
Right. Yeah.
Um, your friend Shelby would always take the milk out of the fridge and she would shake it. Because growing up, the milk was next to the ice box and it would have like a little frozen layer on top. And so even when she had different fridges, it's just like habit. You take the milk out and you shake it. The funny add to that story is that her older kids told her younger kids that if you drink bubbles in the milk, it would kill you. And she, for some reason, would always give the youngest kid the milk first. And it was like, see, mom's trying to kill you because she's trying to give you the bubbles in the milk. Um, Whatever. That's just good sibling fun.
Hilarious. Her kids also, same family. To this day, her child is in her 30s and writes on the grocery list Angela cheese when you need sliced cheese because her mom never bought sliced cheese. Her mom only, Shelby, only ever bought real cheese and sliced it up. But when they came to
Real
my
cheese,
house,
like a
right,
block of cheese.
a block of cheese, and I did American, the little slices that were individually wrapped. And so they called it Angela cheese. And now you have Courtney is a grown human and has her own
With
children,
children.
and her husband has now learned that you put Angela cheese means sliced cheese.
This
So,
is what it is.
yeah, they don't always have to be traumatic. Sometimes they're also fun and silly reasons why we do this. And so, anyway, and that one's a fun and silly. And Courtney said, "I love Angela." And so I'm not going to change it to sliced cheese. It makes me giggle and it reminds me of my childhood. And so therefore, I'm not going to change it. So she's made friends with that. Her husband rolls his eyes and has accepted it. But that doesn't mean that everything that happened, that we have to unlearn it. We can actually accept and appreciate the things that are serving us.
I think that the key is you take the thing and you evaluate,
Yes.
does this still serve me? If the
Yep.
answer is yes, fantastic. If it does not, then what can I do with it instead?
And here's the other thing is that this does not take months and months of therapy, and you don't have to constantly dig into things. It's like as they come up, then evaluate it. Just be on the lookout. I had a client that had been through my 6 sessions and he was rolling into like session 2 and he goes, "Okay, so this thing happened. And on my way home from the event, I was thinking, where would that have come from?" And so I figured out, and he had like found the sensation in his body and unearthed it and then made a new decision. And I'm like, yes. And he was so excited to talk about this. And when he tells me the story, it was like this really hard, traumatic story. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, but then I realized how it was shaping how I see the world. It had scratches on my glasses. And so I wanted to get those scratches out.
So, as we sort of wrap up this little, mini series, I hope that you guys just were able to take some encouragement from this. If something within this landed in particular, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know what sticks, what feels crunchy, where are you at within this journey, and share a little bit. And maybe you don't want to share with us. I feel like we're your friends because you listen to us here in your headphones, whatever. But find somebody in your life that you can share with, because I think that can be really helpful to make things real and not just in our head, but finding a partner who we can unpack things with can be really helpful along the process. Angela, do you have any encouragement you want to leave people with?
I am currently booking clients for our Invisible Edge coaching session. So if you are like, okay, I've read a couple of the books and I want to go deeper and I don't know what that looks like, this is a great time to really position yourself for the next phase of your journey. And we do 6 sessions via Zoom for about $1,500 right now. And so I would absolutely be delighted to walk alongside you as you unearth these beliefs so that you can grow bigger tree and have more impact and continue to be freaking awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.